There are two stories about Paytm this evening, and both are quite a contrast, but both are true. The first one is the story of an entrepreneur who had a dream, who had a vision, and who really built himself up in the face of many challenges. The story of Sharma today is truly an inspirational one. The other part of the story is that his company, Paytm, has just had a hard reality check in the Indian equity markets. It listed at well below its issue price and continued to plunge through the day, hitting almost 28% down on listing day. So investors have lost close to 35,000 crore rupees on day one. We will, in the show up ahead, talk about what happened to Paytm and what is the way ahead. But first, let's take a look at the listing ceremony and this report filed by my colleagues Kritika Arora and Ankur Mishra that talks about what an overwhelming moment this has been for Team Paytm.
जब भी कभी राष्ट्रगान आता है और एक लाइन आती है भारत भाग्य विधाता और मेरी आंखों में से आंसू आ जाते हैं अभी मेरे साथ वो हो गया
Yes, Paytm got listed today on bourses in a ceremony filled with exuberance and emotions.
And Vijay Shekhar Sharma answered his critics by saying that he raised money not on price but for purpose.
People tell me, how do you raise money at so many high prices, guys? And I just tell them that I never raise money on a price. I raise money on a purpose. I raise money on telling my investors and shareholders that, look, if you believe that India will be economy of future, if you believe India will be that economy that we dream of trillions and trillions of dollars, if you believe that India will be economy coming after the Western economies in Asia, then you have to believe in Paytm. The purpose is so pious that every door opens, every road gives away. There is not a day that I would have not felt more confident and more assured of our purpose and vision that we will be able to bring 500 million Indians to the mainstream of economy, guys.
Not only Paytm management, but emotions were high for other investors and bankers to issue.
As Morgan Stanley, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of all the banks, we are so very proud to have partnered Paytm for the historic IPO. And I would say it feels very warm inside to say, इस Paytm की इमारत में एक ईंट हमने भी लगाई है. As you knock on the door of our historic listing, we wish you the very best today, for quarters and decades to come.
The story of Paytm is not just about investors but also about customers, which can be found right from a high street mall to a common kirana store. The CFO of the company did mention about those customers.
I wanted to thank our customers and merchants who have made us a part of their lives, who have trusted us and allowed us to serve them, and also been very demanding, challenged us to become more innovative, more efficient, and build more things for them. So I wanted to thank our customers and merchants.
Paytm is now a listed entity, but challenges remain.
Yes, despite the revenue growth, the challenges remain for falling market share and return to profitability.
Right, Deepak Shenoy of Capital Minds joining us now to talk about what happened. Deepak, I was keen to have you back because we had a conversation about Paytm's listing in the run-up to the IPO as well. Today, what do investors do now? Because it was known that the IPO may list, the stock may list at a bit of a discount to the IPO issue price, but it got butchered by investors. So for investors who did get allotments or who did put in money, how long do you think they have to wait on? What is the road ahead for them?
I think two things here, Taman. I think the problem that comes in is, IPOs either list with a big pop, that's 50%, 40%, 30%, or when they fall, they will actually not fall only 1 or 2%. They will actually go much further south because a large number of investors, looking at the fact that the issue hasn't listed with a profit, start selling, and that leads into a spiral. and eventually, the stock can move or fall substantially higher than it otherwise would have. So given that if you're in this for listing gains, that's the large number of investors that seem to have come into the market recently is listing gains investors. You have no choice. Your listing gains did not work out, and if you played 10 IPOs and you made money in 9, this is the 10th one that you didn't make money on. So that's the end of that story. Because you don't care about the company, you're just in it for listing gains. So there is no reason why you should think of this as a different company or anything otherwise. But for people who are in it for the longer term, who've actually invested in the IPO because they like the name, then this is possibly one of those points which says, well, the stock has fallen in price, agreed. There's nothing just changed in the fundamentals from earlier to now. It's possibly available at a better price today. Longer term, the story will evolve when Paytm gets into better business or businesses like insurance and AMC and perhaps in the lending business directly. So that's when you want to add on to your positions if the story actually works out that way. Our thought has always been invest in these businesses over time rather than all at once. So I think I'll stick with that and say you don't have to react, you don't have to jump into buy or to sell at this point.
The last time we spoke, Deepak, you also talked about why you liked Paytm is because you have faith in the founder. And that's the case with a lot of these new tech companies where the founder and their track record becomes key. Today, however, the market seems to have discovered some very fundamental flaws in Paytm's business model, in its revenues, and in its outlook. Do you think this faith in the founder can overcome these fundamental flaws?
So the fact is, I don't think the market discovered new things. They just highlighted the old things as new in the sense of of course, it doesn't have enough revenues to make profits. Of course, it doesn't make profits at this point. I think we all knew that. But the other point about this is you're analyzing the current business. The current business is X. And if you truly believed in this business, it is not that X business will be profitable. It is that the X business will add Y and Z, insurance, broking, AMC, all of these businesses together as a pie will eventually give it the scale to be able to build profits. It is relatively nascent in its journey, and perhaps that's why I think the price has been one of the concerns, because if the price is so high, how do you expect it to grow and give shareholders that great return? But that's an opinion, and I think over time prices correct and normalize themselves. But having said that, I don't think really at this point that any fundamental flaw has been found in the business model. The idea that now in all financial businesses, they're almost always personality led. Whether you look at Indian large banks, take a name of any bank and you will find that one person responsible for it that was responsible for most of its initial growth. It's same in the US. You look at JP Morgan, you talk about Jamie Dimon now. There was JP Morgan was a person who started this. And then there was, whether it's Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs, these are all individual names, and their names lent the trust and credibility and the early parts of the growth of these companies. All financial businesses are personality-led. So I think you have to have faith in the personality, but also have to have faith in the fact that they can build a great business that can survive by itself. So if you don't have faith in the personality, I don't think you should take any part of this business at all. But with that having said, I think the market, the business, and the landscape has to be big enough for them to be able to execute.
Having said that, what about from the point of view of investors today who find themselves with a stock deeply discounted to what they've paid for it? How long before they can hope to recover?
I wish I knew. I've never been good at predicting when things turn around. All I know is that you have to react, not predict. I have a big board behind me that says that. But the idea of not predicting a price is simply to say When the business starts doing better, add on more to your share values. And eventually, if the business is good, it will make it worth it. If it's not, then you know when to get out because the business would not have worked out to your satisfaction. However, the idea over here is to invest in a tech-based financial business. Some of the others are financial businesses that have come into technology, so they have a slightly more myopic view of what technology can do to actually evolve the business. And being a fintech player ourselves, I think we see the fact that you have to actually understand enough of tech and enough of finance to be able to really make a lot of money in this business. So that belief is what drives at least my thoughts about Paytm. But I'm also in this view that says they haven't fully executed yet. There's a lot more to come. I want to do more justice to my thoughts only when those new things come, whether it is lending, whether it is the insurance business or the broking business, or even the banking business itself scaling out of where it is right now. Only then will the stock prices start to react positively. Yeah. That could take 6 months, that could take 2 years, that could take 5 years. I can't be the best judge of that. The market will do what it has to do.
Well, what Vijay Shekhar Sharma has been telling us consistently, and you will hear his interview being played out ahead in the show, is that wait for a few quarters, wait and see our results, which we will. But the larger story this evening, Deepak, is has the Paytm listing failure and it being a dud sort of cast a pall of gloom over the whole IPO frenzy story? And Anand Mahendra actually put it well. He said that my heart goes out to individual IPO investors who may be rattled, but I'm sure Paytm will find its right level. He also says there is, however, a silver lining to this sobering debut. It could moderate the casino-like feeding frenzy for IPO listings and help restore the hunt for true value. So you think it will have a sobering effect really right now on this whole IPO craze?
So I don't know about the people because, in the end, people seem to be like sheep. They will buy certain things at any price, and then they will not buy the same things at rock bottom prices. And I'm not talking about Paytm. I'm talking about even in the 2008 crisis, great banks, great IT companies were available at extremely low prices, and nobody was buying them. And in a market like this, when there's so much FOMO, the fear of missing out is right in front of you, people pay absurd prices for things. And we've kind of highlighted it, I think, many times on your channel also. I've talked about this, and I said, I don't like the prices at all. I like the business. I think the prices are too high, and hopefully this will bring in a moderation in terms of IPOs not coming out with this kind of level of enthusiasm. If you ask me even 6 months ago, could these IPOs which have recently come out, whether it is Nykaa or Policybazaar or Paytm, could they have commanded this kind of valuation? I would have laughed and I said, no way. But now they are, and maybe it's a little too much too soon for some of these companies to claim these price tags right now. Without having demonstrated the ability for this price tag to be backed by profits or backed by, so there will be absurd pricing every once in a while. And I think, you have to live with the game. And so hopefully this pricing will come down. Hopefully the fallout is good. But in general, markets tend to react both ways. So they will overprice things and then they will underprice things. And as a market player, we expect both to happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if this results in certain other players either withdrawing their IPOs or having to cut prices. And we have seen this at least 5 times in the IPO world in the last 10 years. So no different this time, just bigger scale.
I mean, are you serious? You really think that other players may withdraw their IPOs or delay their IPO plans because of the way Paytm has listed? Do you think it will impact the listing gains also that other players could have got, like the total enthusiasm will reduce?
So I don't know whether, I mean, I can't predict which one's in the head, and I would do it an injustice to try and predict which one of them might not do it. But to give you an example, if the IPO market isn't as hot as it is right now, will the government want to do an LIC IPO unless there is this kind of a frenzy? Because everybody wants to list at those extremely high figures, and government companies always get a discount, and you don't want a discount. I mean, the government doesn't want a discount. So will it list, or will it delay the listing until the atmosphere is a slightly better one? That's a question that I can't answer, but I think that's a question going on in the minds of people right now. But in the past, we've seen, for instance, Lodha had IPO plans for at least 2 times before the IPO actually happened. And since it's happened, the IPO, the company's done really well on the markets. It's gone up 3x since on the IPO price, but it had to shelf plans twice before it came out, I think, if I remember this right. But it happens all the time, and I don't expect that this time will be any different. That if it is truly that these IPOs have lost their sheen, then maybe prices, maybe IPOs will either get withdrawn or delayed, or the pricing will change. It's just natural that that's the situation. But I don't know whether this one IPO is enough to have changed people's minds, or whether it will take a few more.
Yeah, it may be difficult to take a call based on just the IPO of Paytm and its performance. But yes, it's causing people to think once again that an IPO is not a lottery ticket, like was said on our channel earlier today as well. So a bit of a breather, look at the fundamentals of the company. And on the other hand, no point writing off a company on day one because it had a bad listing. Paytm has a long way to go. Its journey has just begun in the equity markets, and we'll be watching every step of the way. Thank you so much, Deepak Shenoy, for joining us today.